So, whether you're just starting off as a remote worker, have been a remote worker for a few years, and are just starting to feel that burnout, I am going to share my habits and hopefully some tips that'll help you in being a little bit more successful with your position as a remote worker. So, I look at working remote as a privilege. I feel like I worked really hard to get the opportunity to be able to work remote, and that's because my career path, I optimized it towards work home balance. Yeah, I wanted more free time. I wanted more time to be living life versus working for money. I wanted to work to have a little bit more free time and flexibility in my days, and I think I'm happier today for making that happen. But it's kind of just a call out because there are people out there in my career path who are making way more money than me, and that's good on them because for them they have geared their career towards making as much money as possible. For me, I've really geared it towards just getting work-life balance. Like I wanted a normal 9 to 5. I didn't want to do like a 50, 60-hour week. I didn't want to, have to do the commute. So I feel like I have a lot of the balance that I was looking for working remote. And because of that, I do not take it for granted. And so I try really hard, especially as a remote worker, to shine in that way. So to define what it means to even succeed as a remote worker, I know everybody's job is different. To succeed in your role means one thing versus as a worker in general. But I guess when I'm talking about success, I'm talking about your productivity, but then also your happiness working remote. Because I know that when I first made the adjustment, it was a huge adjustment. And I know that for a lot of people that it is because you're losing out on that socializing component. The way that you used to get up and move around, just to go to the water cooler and have those conversations, or just to go to the break room, you were walking around a lot more in the office, and so your overall lifestyle changes when you start to work remote. But there's a few things that I started doing to just keep me sane and also keep me successful in my position. And the first thing is to maintain a clean workspace and keep it a controllable workspace. So the main reason that I say that is because, if you were to go into the office, typically the expectation is, the cleaning crew would have come in, your desk is reset, the trash is taken out. There's a regularity to that. But when you're working at home, sometimes what happens, especially at your work desk, is you're like, okay, I'm done with work. I'm just going to leave my desk because I don't want to touch it. I don't want to think about work anymore. And that's fine. But I think that for me, the mess just started to just any mess that builds up would drive me nuts visually in front of me because it would be on my mind all day. I want to clean it. I want to clean it. And by already having your house clean or just your work environment clean, it's one less distraction that's going to be pulling you away from your work. Because usually what happens is we have these micro tasks as remote employees. And so we'll tell ourselves, oh, I can throw in a load of laundry super quick. I can, go downstairs and grab a snack. I can make a cup of coffee. Some of these things you can do in a reasonable amount of time. But when you start to make it a habit to do these micro tasks, the reason it becomes a habit is because it's these little dopamine hits. It's a reset. It's getting away from work and it feels good. But it's something, especially when you're adjusting, that has to be something you learn to control over time. And a big help for that is point number 2 is to schedule regular breaks. So typically after 50 minutes of being productive, I will, have an alarm set on my phone that, I have a 10 to 15 minute break. I can do whatever I want to do, go walk around my house, go for a walk outside, play with the dogs. But it keeps my brain refreshed because in a work environment, you would normally, after so much time working, you would get up. When you have a meeting, you're physically standing from your desk to go and attend the meeting. And when you're working remote, you don't really have that. And so I think that just sitting for too long creates a lot of anxiety in me. But just being overly focused for too long, day in, day out, that's how you get to burnout. So definitely taking those regular breaks and rests, it'll help you feel recharged, and overall for the rest of the day, you'll be a lot more productive. Okay, my tip number 3 is to clock in 5 to 10 minutes early every day. The reason why is I think that my wife has ADHD, for example. She will get to work literally with 2 minutes to spare. And I don't know if that's actually time effective or not, because for me, being late to anything stresses me out. So I would rather be 5 to 10 minutes early for work, just in general, so that way I can have myself ready to go as soon as I walk in. I think that what I noticed in working remote is that first hour, typically, people are not focused at work. They're just getting their breakfast. They're barely starting to like organize their day. They're probably like finishing starting their load of laundry for the day in that first hour that they're starting work remote. And that's not the best way to utilize your time, just because, if you're, again, it's kind of like respecting the privilege that you've been given. So if that first hour of your workday really is not productive and you're starting to realize that, taking an extra 5 to 10 minutes earlier in your morning, it just gives you a lot more time to prepare, to get in the right mindset, to get in the right tone of like, I am ready for work. You have the intention of like, I am here early to work, and not I'm showing up just because I have to. I still need to get my breakfast and my coffee. The mindset is a totally different shift, so just that intent of 5 to 10 minutes extra will give you a lot more intent for the day. Number 4 is to write out your plans and objectives for the day. The reason that I write out my objectives every single day, like even if it's just rollover stuff from the day before, the week before, having a rolling to-do list and then updating it every single day, it's at the top of my mind. What am I behind on? What do I want to get ahead on? Even if I have, downtime in between my projects, how can I still be utilizing that time to be productive on other things? So having a to-do list and just planning out your day, like knowing what meetings to expect, you can go into them a lot more prepared. I think in the office, you're kind of used to like, hey, Joe, are you going to be at that 10 o'clock meeting? And you're used to other people reminding you. But it's a lot more independent in a remote work environment. So you're in charge of managing yourself. And I guess that leads me to tip 5 is to have regular contact with your manager. I know that nobody wants to be hanging out with their boss all day long at work unless you really enjoy your boss, and not everyone does. But the more that you communicate with your manager, the more outreach that you do with them, the more that they'll build a trust and an awareness that they can rely on you as an employee to just do whatever you need to get done. They don't need to be checking on you. They don't need to ask, what are you working on today? Your manager should already know what you're working on, because that's the relationship that you guys have. So especially working remote, it's kind of how you maintain job security. It's how you make sure that your manager can vouch for you in a situation just because they have seen your work ethic. It's not like you're an invisible employee. Sometimes, when you're in the office, you want to lay low. You want to fly under the radar for the day. And like, I get those days too, where it's like, please no one call me. Please no one email me. But I think that in general, having that under the radar mentality or attitude, especially in a remote environment, it's not going to secure your success in a company, just because the reason that a lot of companies went remote in the first place is so that way they could attract competitive talent, some of the best talent. So, in my mind, it's like I'm always up for competition with another data analyst that has, different skill set than me, has a better skill set, any of that. And just to constantly have that awareness of I get this privilege, don't waste it, don't, let it up, really trying to maximize my own success and hopefully yours as well. Because there is competition out there for remote jobs and it's a sweet gig. So yeah, let's make the best of it. Let's just do good in whatever we're doing. Tip number 6 that I would say is work setting on your phone. Use it. It's do not disturb. It's airplane mode. It's whatever different customizable settings you want to put on it. But use that feature, because during the workday, you're going to get your socials, you're going to get your text messages. And if it's just you in front of your computer, then there's nothing that's really deterring you from looking at your phone. If you have a manager that's sitting on the other side of the cubicle, or your manager's walking around, you're less likely to want to pick up your phone every 5 minutes just to look at it. But it's a dopamine hit, especially like while you're working, like you want a little dopamine, just distract me, just make me feel a little bit better. Having a do not controls or do not disturb setting or a work setting while you're busy throughout your day, it's helpful because you're limiting the amount of distractions that you're going to be receiving. So if you only want to receive text messages from your kids or from your parents, and or phone calls, it's like you can set that up. But social media stuff, I can wait until after work to see it, or I can wait until my lunch break. There's just not a whole lot that's going on my phone that's really, valuable to what I'm trying to do at that point in time. And I mean, it's just for me, like if I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to give 100%. I don't really like half anything. So those are my tips for working remote. It's just, I think that it's a privilege, and it's something that just you shouldn't take for granted, because I know a lot of people out there really do want to work remote. So if you take that opportunity, maximize it, be the best that you can be, secure yourself in that space and maybe in that company, in that role, but just show them what you really got, prove that you have the autonomy, the independence, that will generate the results that your employer wants to see. So just be your best self at work. Come in every day with the intent to deliver at 100%. And even on the days you don't deliver at 100%, well, 90% of life's just showing up. So, but anyways, I hope you have a great day. I hope that this video benefited you and hopefully gave you a little bit of inspiration if you're feeling in a rut with working remote, if you're feeling anxiety about working remote, because I did have that for a really long time. Just the whole idea of you don't have a manager watching you, and so you don't know what your manager's expectations are. So all the expectations and the assumed expectations, it just creates so much anxiety in yourself. But yeah, working with your manager, reducing the distractions in your life, whether it's a cleaner office or just having less alerts on your phone during the day, all of it helps. And I wish you the best of luck in your career journey, and I will see you soon. I've been seeing like content creators giving, I guess, Gen Z beef over holding microphones like this now. And I don't understand why, because this is originally how people have been using microphones for the longest time. And I think it's okay if we're holding our microphones to talk. I think it's a lot more natural too. It feels better. I know that maybe it's not the best for audio integrity, but it feels natural.